Why some people only show up when the activity excites them. There's a social dynamic many people experience but rarely talk about: the pattern of conditional engagement in relationships. It shows up when someone declines invitations for everyday or low-stimulation interactions, like catching up, going for a walk, or joining a casual gathering, but suddenly expresses interest when a high-energy, exciting event is mentioned. This behavior is not random. It's rooted in the intersection of emotional availability, social psychology, and personal values. Let's break it down. Some people choose people over activities. For them, the person is the draw. They're relationally oriented. They don't care much what the plan is. They just want to connect. This is called relational flexibility, and it often correlates with secure attachment and high social empathy. These individuals invest in connection for its own sake. They show up, not because the event excites them, but because the relationship does. Others, however, operate from what's called instrumental socialization. They value connection, but only when it overlaps with their preferred experience. The activity is the motivating factor. The person is secondary. This isn't always conscious or malicious. It may stem from underlying traits such as emotional detachment, avoidant attachment styles, or even subtle narcissistic patterns where attention is given when and only when the payoff is personally rewarding. This leads to a phenomenon called relational asymmetry. One party consistently prioritizes the person. The other prioritizes novelty, fun, or stimulation. The result is an unbalanced relationship where one side feels ignored, undervalued, or emotionally expendable. At the root of this dynamic are two core psychological mechanisms: social reciprocity and conditional reinforcement. In healthy relationships, reciprocity is mutual. Both people make effort, not always equally at every moment, but with a shared willingness to show up, support, and adapt. Conditional reinforcement, however, occurs when someone learns they can get positive attention from another person only under specific conditions, such as exciting events, food, alcohol, or entertainment. This is where terms like fair weather friend come into play. A fair weather friend is present when the moment is bright, stimulating, or fun, but disappears during routine life or emotional need. These friendships aren't rooted in depth. They're transactional. Now, culturally, we've also created language to excuse or even romanticize this kind of flakiness. In the age of FOMO, fear of missing out, and hyper-individualism, many people feel justified in only saying yes to plans that thrill them. Social media contributes to this by highlighting experiences over people. As a result, who you're with becomes less important than what you're doing and how it appears. But the emotional consequences of this dynamic are very real. People who value connection for its own sake, those who consistently make time for others, show up for simple moments, or prioritize shared time regardless of the activity, often find themselves burned out, disillusioned, and emotionally drained. They begin to internalize a painful belief: I'm only worth spending time with when I'm entertaining. This creates a form of social fatigue where the relationally generous person eventually withdraws, not out of spite, but out of survival. This experience can also be tied to attachment wounds, especially for people who grew up feeling invisible unless they performed or offered value. As adults, they may unconsciously attract or tolerate one-sided friendships in which they continue earning presence instead of simply receiving it. There's also an important distinction to be made between selective socialization and emotional unavailability. Some people are introverted, anxious, or overwhelmed. Their lack of engagement isn't selfish, it's protective. But emotional unavailability shows up differently. It's when someone consistently avoids emotional depth, avoids reciprocity, and only inserts themselves into a relationship when it's fun, easy, or self-serving. If you're someone who chooses the person over the plan, who says yes out of loyalty, out of care, out of commitment to the relationship, you're practicing something rare: secure relational investment. And if you're often disappointed by others who don't match that energy, it doesn't mean you're doing too much. It likely means they're doing too little. So what can be done? The answer isn't to stop caring. It's to recalibrate expectations. People reveal their priorities through patterns, not words. Pay attention to consistency, effort, and whether the other person ever initiates plans around your interests, not just their own. Value mutuality. When someone only shows up when the activity is thrilling, ask yourself, would they say yes if the plan was just me? And if the answer is no, believe it. Strong relationships aren't built on adrenaline. They're built on presence, on the willingness to be there when it's simple, quiet, or even boring. That's where real connection lives.